Wake up, goddammit!
Hey, gang. I just forgot one thing. Join voice on Discord. Share an entire screen, that one. And we're set. All right. Friday. Who doesn't need today, right? Oh, certainly happy for it. Matt's going to be joining in a minute. It's Friday Fights. Matt and I kind of get along, so I don't know that it's much of a fight anymore. But good discussion today. Alligator Auschwitz. Yeah, I don't call it Alligator Alcatraz. Alligator Alcatraz. Well, Alcatraz, the island, housed criminals. Auschwitz was a camp in Poland during Nazi Germany that housed people who were persecuted wrongfully. So we have in Florida, Alligator Auschwitz. Or at least we did. A judge has halted further construction on the camp, and the federal government has already washed its hands of it. That's not really ours. That's Florida's. We don't really do anything with it. That's not us. That's their official statement. Ronnie Boy, on the other hand, could not be more proud of his little encampment because, after all, if you remember a couple months back, he never got the hotels on state parks that he thought was a good idea. So I guess this is the next best thing. We'll talk about the economy and the fact that the Trump tariffs have kicked in high gear. But Trumpers and the MAGA morons want to sit around and bitch about it because they can't afford groceries. What do you know? They are paying for it after all. When Matt and I talked about today's show, we had on the list Gaza being considered by the Israelis to be inhabited, occupied. Well, that decision has been made since Matt and I last talked. And Israel is, in fact, going to occupy the Gaza Strip. And finally, one of the biggest stories this week, we talked about it already a couple times, is the fact that maybe not consistent with 1861 through 1865, but certainly consistent for standards of modern day 2025, is the fact that we are in a civil war. And the biggest battle of that war started this week in Texas, when Texas Republicans began attempting to draw new lines for federal districts, and as a result, seats in Congress. To get that done, it had to go through the state equivalent of the House, where the Democrats walked out. As a result, that body did not have what's called a quorum, a minimum number of members needed to conduct business. While the GOP had the majority capable of pushing through their, and I'm going to call it corrupt because, and I don't care what side of the political spectrum does it, gerrymandering on its face is not kosher. It might not be illegal, but neither is removing a quorum. So the GOP has their panties in a wad now. They didn't have it in a wad when they did it in Oregon. And they don't have it in a wad when they did it right now in D.C., in both the House and the Senate. The world has since become the laughing, or they've since become a laughing stock to literally the world. This is a global news story. And even more so now because Kash Patel, the director of the Gestapo, has agreed to use the FBI to track down the quote-unquote missing members of the state legislature of Texas. So that's what I think we'll start with. Also, we're going to talk about Bitcoin today and the fact that it can now be part of a 401k. I guess Warren and Charlie were wrong after all. Missed another one. Let's bring Matt out, and we'll start with that one. Hey, dude.
What's up, dude? Happy Friday.
What's happening? Yeah, happy Friday.
Not much, man. Just went live on Substack. So what's up, all the people who think that this is gonna be a crypto podcast stream live on Substack and Twitter? This is all politics today. So sorry to burst your bubble.
Welcome, gang. You are wearing the same shirt, or it looks like it, that is in the overlay for today.
You mean for that I'm wearing or you're wearing?
No, you are.
Yeah, I buy the same shirt and I have like 2 dozen of these.
Do you wear that same one every week?
I mean, I wear almost the same one every day. I went with the whole Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs thing of just buy the same clothes and just wear the same thing, and it works.
Yeah, I've done. The you know what? I forgot to show you last week when we talked about the salary cap in baseball. I wore a shirt that I had just purchased at Walmart. It was, I don't remember the name of the kid, but it was the short little fat guy that was the catcher in the movie Sandlot. You're killing me, Smalls.
Okay.
That kid, he was
Yep.
on the shirt, and I picked that so we'd have a baseball shirt that I was wearing.
So for my campaign, I signed up to a company called Stitch Fix, and back in
Okay.
the day, they also had Nordstrom Rack trunk box.
Okay.
Nordstrom Rack was like a more high end
Yeah.
fashion. It just sends you fashion, you pick it and you send it back. And the and Switch Stitch Fix was, just more like middle of the road. But any clothes that I have that isn't a gray shirt, I got from them.
Well, where do you get the gray shirt from?
The gray shirt is a company called E-Conscious.
Okay.
And I found this shirt about over a decade ago. A company here, Great Lakes Brewing, had their shirts in this, and I was like, "This is the best, most comfortable, good fitting shirt for me." And so I just bought 2 dozen of them, and I kept on buying 2 dozen of them, and now I have to find more. But they discontinued this one, which is the EC 1080, and now I don't. Now I'm scared to buy other ones because this one is discontinued. So I'm trying to find a new shirt brand. I have two in mind, but then when I go ape into those, I'm not going to change for probably the next 2 decades.
So you're changing just the make, but still the same company, or you're changing?
I'm going to. I have one company in mind that's going to be that's a different company, but also the just a different model of this same shirt from the same company. So, so yeah, that's my autistic brain for you right there.
I'm not too far away. I used to buy all of the same neckties because they were good, rigid, and solid construction. Guess whose line of neckties they were?
I have no clue. Neckties?
It was the Donald Trump line that he had with Macy's. They were
that's actually pretty funny. Isn't that ironic?
Good products, yeah, I know, that he had out were his neckties.
Was that when he was president in 2016, or was that before, during like the Obama days?
That was 20 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were in Secret Service, right?
Yeah. And
do they pay for your neckties?
No. And to answer the question from the movie Midnight Run, we all go to the same place. Remember when Robert De Niro asked that FBI agent, "Are your sunglasses standard issue, or do you guys go to the same place?"
All right, we go to the same place. Yeah, fair enough.
We pretty much.
I mean, if you go down here to Cuyahoga County Courthouse, all the lawyers and the county prosecutors, and they all go to the same place for their suits. They're all like, we're $200 suits.
I would say we're mostly Brooks Brothers, Joseph A. Bank.
So you guys aren't cheap suits.
No, but the two problems we have with suits is that most of us are athletic, which means if you buy a 46-inch chest suit coat,
right,
you're going to get some fat ass suit pants.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand. Yeah.
So we have to go to a place that sells suit separates, or we have to buy $1,000 suit. And I'm not saying that we don't have some of them also, but that's for court. That's for when you really actually need to be pretty and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. There's a tailor down here, and same with me. Is I have freakishly long arms, Um, and yeah, so long arms. So if I even buy, I think I'm a 44. I'm a 44 long, but then it's like my arms are still too. No, I'm a 44 regular, and my arms are still too long or short. So it doesn't. So I have to tailor all my suits anyway. So anyway, long story short is yes, that
That's
the
same here. But
t-shirt.
then the other problem is, even with an athletic build, we can't get the suit coat tapered to our build too hard, because when we
You have
go
to,
to get that
oh,
fitted,
yeah, you
we
have to
take
have your guns in there.
we have our ballistic vest, we have a gun, we have a radio, pretty much at minimum, because they're usually opposite each other on our belt.
Right,
If I'm right-handed, my gun's going to be on my right side because we're not allowed to cross draw.
right.
And then the radio is going to be the other side because you
Oh,
want to
so
have.
so when you see on TV, when you see people with like a holster here, if there's your service and they go like this, that's illegal. You don't do that.
Yeah, we
It's
can't do
always
that. Yeah, and the reason is, if you're in the front of the formation and you've got a shoulder rig with a gun hanging from it, it's pointed right at the protectee. And because they're not vertical. Yeah, they're not vertical. I mean, some are, like a 357 Magnum is going to be hanging with the barrel pointed down, but a semi-automatic handgun is going to be hanging vertically, or excuse me, horizontally, which means the barrel is going to be pointed right back at the protectee. And then same thing, if you're in the rear of the formation, you're walking backwards for a lot of it. And so same thing there. So no, it's everything comes from the hip. And that way, if you're injured and we need to take your weapon, we know where it's at.
yeah.
Um,
It's interesting. Yeah. So I've never been. So I've done like a lot of I've not a lot, but I've done weapons classes, and I've never had a cross draw training situation. Nobody's ever taught that.
that and most ranges, for that same reason, will not let that happen on the firing line.
I mean, that doesn't make sense because you're drawing straight across the guy to the left of you. If you're drawing like this, and then you pull that trigger, always
And
out.
yeah, you always keep the barrel pointed in a safe direction. Well, holstered from a shoulder rig would not be in a safe direction because it's pointed back at everybody else behind you. So yeah, that's bad idea. And I'm not saying that shoulder rigs are a bad idea. If you're a detective, you work with a partner who sits to your side, not behind you. It's certainly less on your hips when you're sitting in a car, but not good for a security detail.
Yeah. Shall we get into our topics today? We got quite a few to get through.
Yeah. Want to start with a Bitcoin?
Yeah, we'll start. We can start with crypto. I think it's interesting. Donald Trump, I think it's today or yesterday, he signed an executive order directing the U.S. Labor Department to reevaluate restrictions on including crypto and other alternative assets in the 401ks. So this is and 401k defined contribution retirement plans. So there's a lot of enthusiasm around this, considering that there is $43.4 trillion in retirement assets, and 401ks has around $8.7 trillion. So people are very bullish on this. Other people are probably are critical, saying like, why would you have Bitcoin in retirement? That's unsafe and yada yada. We can unpack that as much as you want, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're still with the Charlie Mungers and the Warren Buffetts calling Bitcoin a bubble at this point, with Bitcoin being unsafe or not a reliable investment, I think it's just as viable and just as volatile as everything else that's out there.
Agreed. Yeah, I Yeah, no, we're past the this is after 16 years of this existing. You we There should be a little bit more maturity from people going, so like, hey, oh, this is a thing now, right?
Yeah.
um, and in 401ks, I don't think it matters. It all depends on who's managing the 401ks and how they're weighting those 401ks. So if they're heavy into one thing or another, or if they're 50% Bitcoin, I would say that's silly. And I think that any investor or anybody who's saving and puts all their eggs in one basket, and is overly exposed into one industry, one market, one thing, is probably it knows
Right.
that the risk is compounding. And
Right.
so I don't think it's unreasonable for say 1% of that of that $8.7 trillion to go into Bitcoin, which would be, I don't know what 1%. What is 1% of that anyway? Is that 87 billion? What's 1% of 8.7 trillion? I think it's
Yeah.
87 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
87 billion to go into Bitcoin from retirement funds. That's not substantial for the Bitcoin market. That's not substantial for 401ks. That's not even a blip on the retirement assets. So I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Now, if you see 20% moving over to Bitcoin ETFs or whatever, then I would say then you're probably even. But then again, even if Bitcoin goes to zero and that's just one of your 20% of the assets, you still have 20%. It could be very detrimental for some people if you know 1 million goes to 800,000, but that is still not really substantial in the grand scheme of things. So I don't see a
Newz
problem.
is 87 billion. Yeah, and what is the likelihood then of bringing other relatively stable cryptos like ETH or any of them into that same category as what Bitcoin now has?
Well, a lot of people are putting a market cap limit on what you can invest in. I know that there's state pension funds and things and state reserve bills that are coming out saying like, if you want to, or if we want to put funds into a crypto asset, it has to be over X amount of money. And usually the limit is like 500 billion. So the only thing that it classifies if you're at that point is only Bitcoin right now. So if Ethereum goes over that, then you can invest. If it goes under that, then you'd have to divest and redistribute those assets to something else, which makes total sense. And honestly, I personally would say for a crypto asset, and not just to be overly cautious because there are plenty of companies that are smaller than this, but I would say for a crypto asset, I think $1 trillion is probably the break point that I would put in for all of these assets. If
Okay.
Ethereum happens to grow and double to $1 trillion, then I'll say yes, people can go into it and input pensions and retirement funds into there. But I think right now Bitcoin is the only one that I would say that for retirement and pensions.
Okay. Yeah, I did a lot of work with Bitcoin when I was investing heavier, and it was very successful for me. Helped pay for this and the jet skis that are now out back. Got on the water yesterday for the first time in more than 2 years. That was definitely nice.
Nice, man.
So, yeah, it's either going to be tonight's dinner or tomorrow lunch. I'm either going to go to dinner tonight on the ski, and then because you got to get back 30 minutes after sundown, I can't be out all night. So I'm going to go to dinner, come back, work from home, or if I work through dinner, I'm going to go see Superman tonight, finally. And then
Let's
also
discuss it next week. I saw it already, and I would love your opinion. We can discuss it next week.
I want to see it especially because I'm a Green Lantern fan, and I was incredibly disappointed with the one Green Lantern movie that is out. And I think that was very rushed and shitty script and everything. I think Ryan Reynolds is right to make fun of it as Deadpool. No green, definitely no green when he picked his costume color.
Did you see Fantastic Four yet?
No. Did you see that one?
I did.
My hesitation on Fantastic Four is that I saw the previous series that was done with recognized actors, and maybe it was the timing of it, when maybe they didn't have all of the technology that they do today. But I didn't think that was all great.
Well, well, my opinion, if you're going to see any of them, Fantastic Four is better than Superman.
Really?
Fantastic Four was actually pretty good.
No shit.
Okay, let me say pretty good in comparison to 2025 superhero Marvel fatigue with pretty cookie cutter plot lines and scripts. It is pretty. It's the best version you can get at this point from them.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Fantastic.
So would it be good? But is it the best thing I've seen in a while? Yes.
Okay, that's the thing that I think is probably challenging about Fantastic Four, is that through their comics, with the exception of them being astronauts that were exposed to some whatever radiation that did what they did to them, it wasn't really that dark of a comic line, was it? I mean, not like Batman,
I have no clue, man.
Not like Green Lantern. DC Comics was for adults, and what they did with the Marvel movies, I think, kept an adult. It was a good mix for kids, but also adult audiences. So
see,
I would want to see what they do with the plot line for this, and
see,
how
I wasn't a comic book guy growing up. I mean, I liked superheroes and things like that. But so for me, if I watch a movie, I'm watching it for the movie's sake. And so a lot of people come in here like, oh, I read all the comics and this isn't canon, or this isn't the feel, or this person was a man in the comics or a woman in the comics. I don't give a shit. Like, give me a good movie and give me a good storyline and play off these characters that I roughly know as an adult, or I roughly knew as a kid. And so with that, I liked Justice. I liked not Justice. I liked Zack Snyder's Superman. I liked it. That was like, obviously there's the original. I think Superman Returns, that was made in like 2007 or something, that was grossly underrated.
It was 100%. The one
grossly underrated.
Brandon Routh.
Yes. Yeah. Grossly underrated. And then and then when they came with Henry Cavill, I thought it was great. It was darker. Yeah. I thought here's my thing with superhero movies and Marvel in general. And I really, it bothers me extremely, is that they never accurately depict superhero powers in two aspects. The first one is the ratios to each other. Like, Hawkeye cannot hang with Thor. That's just bullshit. Like, don't put them together fighting the same dude or fighting. Like, just get the fuck out of here. It doesn't happen. All right. Yeah. Or Black Widow and Iron Man. Like, just stop. So like, but they try to make their powers like somehow equal so they could kind of like, and we all know it's bullshit. Okay, fine. Even if you put that away, I think that's a big breaking point. The second one is they don't show them being super. And I mean, okay, maybe they pick up a car. Okay, that's cool. But like the fast movements, the quick reflexes, like just amazing visual power. And what Superman did with not Justice League, but I keep saying that, with Zack Snyder's first Superman, when the like Zod and everybody came there and they actually had those battles, it showed their speed, their power in a way that was just like, oh, like when Matrix did bullet time, they finally did that for super powers. And it was just like, oh, these guys are badass and they're strong. They're not just some dudes that are really strong. There's some, you can't mess with them. Right. And even with like the Avengers, they still couldn't capture that. It's still like the average dude could still think like, hey, I'll go hang out with, no, you won't hang out with Thor, dude. You won't do it.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I see I hear what you're saying. And you would think that with some of the technological tricks they've got in Hollywood, they'd be able to portray that better. But so that's my weekend. I'll knock one of those two out.
Yeah, I'll say knock them both out. And last thing I want to say on that topic is is that it's really disappointing that they haven't made a good Dragon Ball movie yet. And I don't know if it's a rights issue or whatever, but I've seen them make a couple Dragon Ball kind of movies, and there's been some great YouTube fan based movies done. I mean, some of them are really good on YouTube. One in particular that I'm thinking of, but the fact that they didn't make one is just, I think, a shame. The other thing I want to say is go back to the Ethereum conversation. Is that I want to say that that maybe there's a distinction between, and I know we're jumping all over the place. We should move on, but there should be a distinction between self custody of a crypto for say 401ks and pension plans and ETFs. And I think ETFs should be allowed in the 401k pension plans. And I don't know if self custody of pension plans should be. But if they do use a third party that actually figures that out and actually finds an institutional way to self custody with some sense of security and insurance on that, because you're talking about other people's money, then I think that could be acceptable. And then if you're doing that, then I think the threshold should be, again, 1 trillion for self custody, but maybe I could go 500 billion. I think that's acceptable if it's ETFs, since they're already approved ETFs. And since they are approved ETFs, it's almost kind of hard to say that you can't have an ETF that is publicly traded into your 401k portfolio. So I just would say I would be a little bit more cautious of other people's money, and I think people are sometimes too hands off with their retirement funds, and then their pensions are bought and sold or invested in properly. And the people that are screwed are the mom and pop that just went to work every day. And then 40 years later, they're just like, hey, where's my money? And they're like, well, about that.
Yeah. Well, to finish wrapping that whole intro segment, superfan Ken has apparently changed his avatar. Is that Dr. Doom? Is that what I see there?
So Ken, I don't know. Ken, I think it's Dr. Doom, but Ken put in this there was an actual comic Thor hang out with Hawkeye. Yes, I agree. Okay, fine, they can hang out, but I'm talking about like fighting at the same level. They're not the same power level.
Yeah.
And Thor was so strong. I think he's in the Marvel universe, the like top 10, probably the 5th strongest person because he's a god in the Marvel universe. Like, you're not going out and hanging out with Hawkeye, and they're fighting the same person, and it's just ridiculous. Thor is this dominant force that is now just like fighting with all the Avengers, and he's just hitting the guys and the little guys, and it's ridiculous.
Hawkeye's an archer.
I'm gonna shoot my bow and arrow, and this guy that literally is a god that his hammer was forged inside of a neutron star. We're gonna say that this is the same thing. It is not the same thing, guys.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm realizing this now too. Ken says he didn't change his avatar. He can't get on Twitch. He's joining us through YouTube today. Okay. But he also doesn't agree with your Dragon Ball assessment. He says that there should never be a movie again. There was one.
First of all, there was one, and it was really bad. It was true. Again, Ken, search the fan-made movies on YouTube. There's a couple that are really, really excellent. But what I'm trying to say here, Ken, is that the technology exists. I think Zack Snyder proved that you can do a flyy, fast, strong character with really good visuals that represent what Dragon Ball could be if you just had good. So the text there is just, are they going to mess it up? And I'm really scared that they would mess it up. So I agree with you, but I really want one.
Yeah, Ken is our resident comic book nerd. And with regards to my comment about Fantastic Four, he says it wasn't to be dark. Its base tagline was Marvel Family, First Family. Now, they did have some dark issue on the Marvel comic lines, but that, depending on the writers, I guess that kind of depends on who you got. And lastly, Bullish Beast says hello and good morning. He's from your posse. And this, I think, is you, reminding all of those joining through the Daily Crypto News links. Don't be disappointed that we've already concluded our one crypto story. Hang out. We've got a lot more for you to learn. We got Israel coming up with Gaza, Texas, and Alligator Auschwitz. We got another economy story coming. Yeah.
So let's.
So
Where should we go? Where should we go next?
up next is Texas.
All
I
right.
gave
I love this
like
one.
a summary already. They're trying to gerrymander the federal districts for Congress, and the Dems fought back by boycotting, essentially. They didn't have the session of Congress started, so the Dems walked out before they could do it. That removed their quorum, the minimum number of people needed to get started, and now the GOP is crying about that. So they've issued arrest warrants. As the resident legal expert with law enforcement, I can tell you there was nothing there that was legal. They became the world's laughing stock as a result. Mate, you okay? He had a bit of an issue in the middle of the night last night. And now I don't think it was the attorney general for Texas, but somebody that's on the right who's heading up this let's get started effort has contacted the FBI and asked for their help in locating the missing Democrats and arresting them and getting them back to Texas. And the FBI has said they will help locate. Now, they've stopped at that, but said that they will help locate the missing Democrats. Well, I can help you locate the missing Democrats. They're in Chicago and Massachusetts. There you go. Found. Problem solved. But getting them back to Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has requested the assistance of the Texas Department of Public Safety. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's their state police, to arrest these missing Democrats and bring them back. Bunch of problems with that. The
Right.
Democrats didn't do anything wrong.
Well,
And they're not in Texas.
I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
I disagree with that. So, does everybody? Did we already give the synopsis of what this is about, right?
Yeah, it's about the
gerrymandering.
redistricting.
And that there's multiple places. And so, okay, so this was go a big 101 for everybody really quick. The Republicans control the House by like what? 2 seats, 1 seat, 3 seats, something ridiculously small. And any change in the maps right now, when you draw lines in anymore, the data is so good that you could almost predict pretty spot on what seats are going to be Republican and Democrat. And so there might be some upsets, but I think pretty spot on within a wiggle room of maybe 3 or 4 seats, you're pretty much going to get the same result as you have now, without changing the lines of how the districts are drawn. And so there's multiple states that are there, that are thinking about redistricting. That's California, Texas, New Jersey, Ohio, and I think there's 1 or 2 more, and I can't think of it. Long story short is that when you redraw these maps, you are basically ensuring a Republican or Democrat pickup in the House of Representatives. And Ohio is going to be going through this they're going through it right now. We're going through it right now again, which is absolute bullshit. But which we have a GOP-led executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch, and so there's no reason that our 10-5 Republican Democrat congressional split right now will not turn into a 13-2 with our 15 seats in Congress from Ohio. If it isn't, in my opinion, if I was a Republican, I would say that is gross negligence on their fault, on their behalf, that
Just
they didn't.
To be clear, gerrymandering is also legal.
Yes.
It's bullshit, but it's legal.
Well, it depends on the state constitution. The Ohio state constitution has clearer ways of drawing maps. However, they are not followed. And so when you control all members, all aspects of the government, it's almost like, are you going to police yourself and you can do whatever you want? And so that's what we're having in Ohio right now. If you're not going to enforce your own laws, then and if you don't have the other branch saying like, hey, we have to enforce these laws in the judicial or the legislature or the governor vetoing these maps, then you run into problems. And honestly, if you're a party that has this opportunity to pick up seats in the House, why wouldn't you take it? Right now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying as a party, if I can draw maps and it can be 13-2 and I can pick up 3 extra seats in the House, I'm taking it. I'm
They're
taking
going
it.
to do it to you. You might as well do it to
They're
them.
going to do this. Politics is the absolute best example of a zero sum game. If you want to play by the rules and you want to do things out of fair, then you will get fucked. Somebody will come in and fuck you really hard. And we're seeing that in other places. So what you're seeing right now, and I think a great example is Texas and California. Texas is trying to say, as you said, Yergs, we're going to gerrymander this, and we're going to have some go down to like, what is it, 2 Democrat seats.
They're essentially trying to get rid of, and now of course I'm brain farting, the very vocal black woman that is from, I think, the Houston area.
Jasmine Crockett.
Yes. Yeah, I think they're trying to either minimize or eliminate her seat altogether. And when I say eliminate, I mean flip it to a much stronger Republican district than Democrat one. Because she's in a solid Democrat. You know, if she were, here's what I don't think makes any sense about, you know, saying that, we said yesterday about how Tim Pool on the Timcast said, get rid of these guys. They've vacated, they've abandoned, fire them, and have an election to replace them. Well, if you have an election to replace people in these particular currently drawn districts of the state legislature, who do you think is going to be coming back? And if you're going to have these elections to replace them, why do you have to arrest them to bring them back? You don't need them.
Let me just fill this in really quick. Right now, the Republicans hold 25 seats out of the 38 seats in Texas, and they're trying to make it 30 seats in Texas for Republicans. That means the other 8 seats will be Democrat. So that would be an essential 5 pickup in the House. If nothing else changed in the country and they picked up those 5, now you have a 8-seat majority in say the House of Representatives to pass laws. So that means if you have a couple of people that say, "Hey, I'm going to throw a hissy fit," they're still going to pass the bill or the or whatever they put the legislation that they're going to put through. Conversely, California, Gavin Newsom said, "Well, if you're going to do that in midterm, elections and redraw your state, I'm going to do it too, and we're just going to take it to like 2 Republican House districts in a state with 52 electoral votes or 52 representatives." And so, you have so they're going to play the same game. Which if California did that now, it would take away any gains that Republican made and actually flip it to a Democrat-led House. If with what California does, now you're going into Indiana and Ohio and New Jersey that are doing the same thing. So there's 3 in Ohio, whatever. So this is basically cutting off states.
What is the direction that Jersey could go? Because that strikes me as a pretty Democratic state.
I am not too sure. And I hope I'm not messing up and saying that's Jersey, to be honest with you.
I've heard Jersey also as well.
I haven't looked into Jersey, to be honest with you. But like I said, Ohio's 3 seats. I couldn't see Indiana being any more than a couple seats as well. They're a red state already. So what are you going to pick up? Maybe 1 or 2. So you're nickel and diming, but these nickel and dimes are going to add up.
Sure.
So when it comes to arresting people because they did these legislatures, I think that's absolutely messed up. You should not be able to arrest people for fleeing their state or their job. Like that's crazy. What I do think is
it's not illegal. And the fact is, you said you were going to push back and disagree on something. I'm guessing it's about them leaving their posts. This is legal.
That's what I'm also. This is their job to do. So if something's called into session, I mean, part of your job is to get coalition, is to get people to vote your way. they need to be whipping up votes from the Republicans to say this is BS. If they can't do it, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'm sorry, but if you call your legislature into session, you need to show up. Now, if you don't show up with one person, but if the whole delegation walks out, you're derelict of your duty. Now, do I think you should be arrested? No. But do I think that the governor should be able to call new elections and replace you if you're not showing up for your job? Absolutely.
Okay, so here's two reasons there why I disagree with that. One, a quorum is put in place for this reason, so that when you can't pull together the minimum number of people required, you can't do business, which means the Republicans can't push this through without the Democrats. So they too need to be reaching across the aisle. So the quorum call is a very necessary tool for the minority to still have a say. And the Democrats right now are saying what they got to say, and this is the only way they've got left to do it. You're right about the lack of standing on the legal issue as far as any criminal activity. They haven't done anything wrong. And in fact, this is part of it. It was done in Oregon with no arrest made, and it's happening right now in Congress. Both the Senate and the House have walked out by the Republican-led majority and gone on the August vacation earlier than what they were supposed to because of the pressure over releasing the Epstein files. And they didn't want to address that, so they said, peace out, we're out of here. There was something else you said that I wanted to...
So let me talk about the quorum thing. I think that's a good point. And initially, when I heard you say that, I was like, oh, you know what? That's a really good point. But I think there's a difference between what quorum was set for is to make sure that you had enough representatives there to have a majority voice of the people to do the job, because people could be sick, people out with their kids, something can happen, blah, blah, blah. And we have to have quorum to make sure that we have enough representation, opposed to quorum being weaponized by a certain group of people. So we don't have quorum, so we cannot do our job. I think those are two different things.
No, see, and that's what I think you're misunderstanding the purpose of the quorum. I think just because they can't go into session doesn't mean they can't do their job. Both sides can still be talking. They can meet somewhere outside of Texas so nobody gets arrested. And they can come to a conclusion and to some sort of agreement. Have a public press conference on that agreement. Still everybody's doing their job. They just haven't made that agreement official yet, even with a press conference. You still got to go into session and make it happen. But now, if the Democrats pull the Republicans into it and say, okay, sit down and talk, here's how you're not going to redistrict our state, and they get to that pissing match and do whatever negotiating and reaching across the aisle they got to do, and then the Republicans renege on it once they get the Democrats back in, then I think we're going to see a possible answer to that at the next state election, or maybe not.
It's interesting.
Redistricting is because the redistricting is going to provide a representation to Congress that is actually not indicative of what the state shows.
So I mean, look, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I'm just basically wondering, okay, I don't disagree. And I'm not even going to try to beat this up because I don't disagree. And I do think that the fight it should be there. I'm more wondering what is the responsibilities of the people of the legislature. And I don't know if holding up or not showing up and holding up the votes and not showing up for things is a way to get things done, or it's the actually way to do things. So if, like, let's just flip it around. Let's just say the majority of Republicans just don't show up on whatever vote they don't like, gun control, abortion, or whatever. They just don't show up. Mm-hmm. That's not helping the people at the moment or whatever. Now we could say, like, maybe there's women at risk when it comes to abortion and healthcare, or when it comes to mass shootings. We did see some mass shootings in Texas in recent years that should have been addressed by the legislature, but it wasn't. And then somebody doesn't show up. That's not them saying I'm using quorum because we want to get to the bottom of things. That's using quorum to weaponize something that needs to happen in a direction within those chambers with a vote. And so I'm that's where my breaking point is I don't know if that's the best way to use quorum.
So here's my answer to that is they weren't already in session. So it's not like they also have the budget to discuss or the security of elections to discuss. I just watched the 60 Minutes episode last night of Reality Winner, who was the Air Force officer who released various transcripts confirming what we think is not true because the FBI has said this, that, or the other thing, but confirming the fact that Russia influenced the 2016 election. And she did 4 years in prison for it because the winner of that election doesn't like her now. I don't know where I was going with that, but
you wanted to tell us that you watched the thing. Good. All right. I'm happy you watched that, dude.
Yeah, but that was actually relevant to what we were talking about, and I totally brain farted. But anyway, this was a special session called together or attempted to be called into session solely for the purpose of redistricting these lines, of redrawing these lines. Why can't that wait till the end of the decade like it's supposed to? Because Greg Abbott is Donald Trump's bitch. No other reason. And I know there's also we talked about this and I agree with it. I understand it. It's an opportunity, so you take advantage of it. But it's also an opportunity to stand up for all of the people of Texas and represent all of the people of Texas and say, you know what? I'm not going to do that because now is not the time.
I don't. So
paralyzed from the chest down or wherever it is, doesn't have the balls to do that.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I'm just talking about like what do I feel that these people should be doing and what the repercussions, if any. And again, if this was if this was Congress, U.S. Congress, and the Democrats just didn't show up because they didn't want to pass and it doesn't matter if they're in session for a budget or not.
That's what's happening. The Republicans are not showing up in Congress because they release the Epstein files.
Well, again, these if they weren't showing up, and it doesn't matter. Special sessions are called all the time. I mean, I know they get called in at midnight and say we got to vote. I mean, that sucks, but that's just the rules of change the rules. Then, like next time you get a new speaker, change the rules if you don't like it. That's all I can say. But you have to show up.
That's the other thing that I think is crazy. Ooh, we're going to change the rules now, and then get some corrupt fuck like Mike Johnson in. And they're just going to change it back. Don't make rules, make law. So they can't change without some super majority like they've got now that we all know is corrupt and inept. But Congress is doing the same thing right now that the Democratic legislature in Texas is doing. They've walked out. They were not in recess yet, and they had things to do. But because the American people pushed to the front the Epstein files, now there's Epstein victims coming forward and saying, release the damn files. And apparently there's a release of the Ghislaine Maxwell interview with the Department of Justice saying that she's never seen Donald Trump in any compromising positions on Jeffrey Epstein's property. Yeah, because we all believe that. I guess you never read any of the birthday cards.
Well, look. So again, if the Republicans walk out, or the Democrats walk out, I don't know if walking out is a good solution to this. And Yeah, the ultimate boss is the people, and they voted for these people to be in here. And they're doing that and walking on, in my opinion, the responsibilities to be there and whip up the votes. And maybe you don't walk into the chamber, but if you leave the state or you leave DC and just say, "Hey, I'm going away. I'm going to go on this tour," to say why I'm not there. That's that. I don't know if
Well,
I just don't know, man. I don't know.
I think
I don't
was
know.
the brilliance of the Democrats, where, and I got to say the same thing for the Republicans in Congress.
Politically, it's smart for what the Democrats did. That was politically smart to
Yes.
go on the tour and do it. It's absolutely smart. But do I think that there should be no repercussions from the people, even in Texas, if it's the people in the vote, or putting it up to a new vote and say, "Hey, your representatives aren't here. You got to go vote for somebody else." I don't know, but to say that I could just leave the state and not show up, I don't know if that's again. How is the people coming back? Is it, and it should be only 4 years later that people come back and say, "Hey, let's vote for new people because you didn't show up for work half the time." I don't know about that.
So here's I think the Democrats, going back to just Texas now for a moment, I think the Democrats saw the whole "you're going to get arrested" bullshit coming, and so they left the state.
This isn't new. This happened before.
Eliminating the Department of Public Safety from the equation. DPS can't get them in Chicago. Now, same thing with the Republicans in Congress. You mentioned votes at 1:00 in the morning. Legal, but shady as fuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because why would you recess for the weekend? And this is an actual example, to come back late Sunday night and vote for the thing that you couldn't agree on Friday because somebody muscled somebody else into voting for it. And that's exactly what happened with the big, beautiful bill.
I mean, so those rules aren't going to change because both parties use those tools.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, is it shady?
Well,
Yeah.
let's switch to California then for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And give, I know you don't like the guy, but give some cred for Gavin Newsom.
Politically smart. Politically really smart.
I think that his opportunity, taking advantage of the opportunity to do the same thing in California, is, like you said, a political home run. But also, he's the one that's been pushing for the independent. He and Pritzker in Illinois have been pushing for the independent committees to be the one drawing the lines, not the legislature. And that there should be, Newsom went as far as to say there should be a statewide formula, or a nationwide formula that every state uses across the board, so that there's also that level of consistency. And he kind of shrugged and rolled his eyes in that Brian Tyler Cohen interview, and that didn't happen. But almost to the top of the hour, for our friends in Australia, I need to play a quick message. If I knew where it was, that would be awesome. There we go. You'll like this.
You're listening to a Dare Media Group radio station. Daring Australian radio entertainment. Dare Media Group is the home of these online radio stations: Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. Find out more at daremediagroup.com.au.
All right. With that, we're also going to take a break ourselves. This is Up the Middle on the Mastiff Media Network and Dare Media Network. We'll be back after these words.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum at Momentum Fitness and Wellness.
Daily Crypto News. I gotta actually ask him when we come back. Daily Crypto News is now available on the Shady News Radio and Yerg's Radio. But I didn't get some of this week's episode, so maybe we can. Also, download the Tone Tip app. You see 2 QR codes on your screen right now. But if you're watching today's episode from your phone or your tablet, that's the device you would use to scan the screen to get those QR codes. You're not going to be scanning anything, are you? With the Tone Tip app, or actually that feature that will be on our app and website coming soon, we'll be able to send you a tone tip like we just did during the Momentum Fitness and Wellness commercial. You'll get the location, the website, their phone number, and even more features that we'll be able to send you coming soon, like notes, photos, things of that nature. So go to tonetip.com if you can't scan the app, and download the Tone Tip app, and go to dailycryptonews.net, hosted by our very own Matt Deemer, and get your daily updates and info on cryptos, the blockchain, and that even taught me quite a bit about day trading. dailycryptonews.net and tonetip.com. There we go. Hold on, I'll get rid of the music. I need a producer. There we go. All right, so what's your last arguments on quorum calls and gerrymandering?
I don't know. I really don't know if I have any. Like I'm not in really totally disagreement with you about this. As you know, you need to fight for this. Gerrymandering is the way that you control the House, and in the state and in the federal level, it is an issue.
Would you rather see some sort of independent committee have the sole authority on drawing those lines?
No, unless they're anchored to something that is more factual. For example, like statewide elections. So, for example, I think we mentioned this last time, is that Ohio went, I think it was like 60-40, 60 for the Republican, 40 for the Democrat. And the governor, and the same thing, even down ballot was even worse. So it was like 65-35. And so it's really hard to argue that we should have a equal representation in Congress, or an 8-7 Republican Democrat split. So
let me jump in there for a second. I'm not saying, in fact, I don't think parties should have anything to do with it at all. I think it should be just personally. I think these lines should be drawn solely on a blind count of population. Registered voters, people or potential registered, like maybe you are counted in a particular area. You're not registered, but you are legal. I don't think we should be counting illegal aliens for purposes of drawing district lines. But I don't think we should be looking at party affiliation either. And I think that's
what I'm trying to say is I think it's very hard to, first of all, it's really hard to draw just arbitrary lines. Second of all, is that it's very hard to justify a state that is 65% Republican voting at this point, that there should be, and I'm arguing from the Democratic side, where we're saying, well, we need fair maps. It's really hard to argue that you should have an 8-7 Republican and 7 Democrats when it's a 65-35 for governor the past 2 elections. It's really hard to.
Agreed.
So the only thing I think is a solution for this is that you make, back in the day, you used to have statewide congressmen. and they ran statewide. I don't know if I can't remember. I think drawing maps is actually in the U.S. Constitution.
When you say a
we
state
used to have-
congressman, you mean there was one seat in the state that was an at-large?
Mhm.
Okay.
My ex-girlfriend's grandfather and great-grandfather were the at-large congressman.
Mhm.
And he was the last at-large congressman. So it's like, so that was a statewide. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you could just make 15 districts that all look like Ohio and have everybody run statewide. Maybe that would be better, where you can get, you'll see a better, and then mixed ranked choice with that. Like there has to be different ways, but I think gerrymandering and I think drawing lines is only problematic, and it always will be problematic. No matter if it's independent commission, no matter if you're drawing arbitrarily, no matter if it's a AI algorithm, it doesn't matter. There will always be problematic and always be contentious. And I don't think that's actually necessarily good.
I think the purpose of an independent commission is, at least in theory, to eliminate the gerrymandering. Now, my issue with that is that it's still human and can still be, pushed in one direction or another. How independent is it really? And when they come back with gerrymandered districts, what is the recourse for the people who got gerrymandered?
Look, at the end of the day, it'll be problematic, and you're 100% right. It's like, what's the independent? So it's like, hey, I'm going to be the independent person. Is this jury duty? So we just get random people in there? Okay, fine. Maybe they don't know anything about it. Then you get educated people that know about gerrymandering and all that stuff. And then you have them in there. But do they really want to put their life on the line? Is this what they signed up for? Okay, fine. Then you take all those people out. Then you have the people that only want to do this because they want to put their life on the line, or they're actually political advocates. Now, are they have some kind of connection with running for office or not running for office or taking funds, or do they work as a government employee, blah, blah. So do they have stake in the game? Not. Then you have to take all of that out. So now who do you have running there? Some random mom and pop that really doesn't want to be their life and their kids on the crosshairs because they drew the map Republican when you're a Democrat in a Democrat city.
Yeah.
Don't want to deal with that. I don't know if there's an actual solution to any of this, but statewide.
Well, that's why, but there again, that's why I think having the political affiliations of the constituents being drawn as part of the equation is part of the problem. When I look at numbers of people who live in Cleveland and Cincinnati and this county and so on, I shouldn't know who or how they voted, how they're registered, how they voted, anything like that. That should not be part of the conversation.
Yeah, but it is.
Well, so, okay, fine. So here is the population. Look at your district.
Yeah.
If you weren't in an already gerrymandered district, I'd be talking to Congressman Matt Deemer right now.
You wouldn't be talking to me. I'm gonna be here. What are you talking about? I have bigger. I'm on CNN. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm just kidding, dude.
I'd be talking to your intern. I'd be talking to your intern. But point being, right there, you're in a district that supported you, at least a good chunk of it. But because you have another district that, you could have been, the best Republican, but because you had a D by your name, didn't matter. They don't care. And that should not be a part of it. That's what a secret ballot election is for.
Yeah.
So we don't know the answer to the question going into it.
Yeah, let's move on. We beat that up.
All right. Up next, Gaza. For those of you in favor of a two-state solution, you may or may not be getting it. When Matt and I talked about putting this in today's show, the Israeli Security Commission, or whatever it's called, Netanyahu and his cabinet, were considering occupying the Gaza Strip. Overnight, that decision has been made, and the answer is yes. They will be, and they might even be in the process of doing that right now. Do you have anything pulled up on your end?
Do I have anything pulled up on my end? What?
Hold on a second.
All right, we're in a holding pattern.
Uh,
Holding pattern beta
as of
0.
9 minutes ago, NBC is reporting that where we go. Israel says it will take control of Gaza City, escalating the war in the devastated enclave. What we know, a new offensive has been approved. Israel says it will take over Gaza City, escalating its war with Hamas as it faces growing domestic and international outrage over the 22-month conflict. The wider plan, Israeli officials announced that Israeli forces will take Gaza City. They appear to be casting a wider net, with the plan envisioning the disarming of Hamas, the return of all hostages, and the demilitarization of the entire Gaza Strip and Israeli control of it. Military buildup, strong opposition. One of the things I found last night, and I don't see it here, is that their goal, and that's why I said may or may not create a two-state solution, because their goal was to get rid of Hamas. And nothing really said that their goal was to get rid of Gaza. Like they're not.
Oh, you don't say that. You don't say that. Nobody says that.
But Israel does. They've said that they will get rid of anybody that wants to get rid of them. And when I read this last night, it
are you stating that this is dishonest because they have said that in the past? Or are you saying that it doesn't say that, so therefore it's not going to happen?
I'm just saying it's not saying it in this right now.
Of course, they're not saying it in that. You don't say that in that.
What I
we
saw
went to Iraq because of freedom and liberty, sir.
What I saw last night was it read as though Israel is recognizing a need for a two-state solution. Like they wanted to go in to get rid of Hamas, not Palestine. And I thought that maybe Israel going in and occupying could actually be a good thing. Now, like you just alluded to or said, possibly this is just their bullshit story to take the entire area back and work with Donnie and make it the beachfront property that T-Rump wants it to be.
Look, I mean, can we just stop pretending that there isn't obviously that the cards aren't shown already? Like there was silly AI mock-ups of a Trump hotel on the beaches of Gaza. Max Mueller 2 years ago said it was turning into a parking lot. We have there now we have the massive bombing of and destruction of Palestine and Gaza. You have now the Israeli government says, "Oh, we're just going to move in and get things taken care of. Don't worry about it." Like, come on, dude. Like, come on. Like, if we could just stop lying to ourselves to say like that's not going to happen, and the beachfront property and the Trump hotels not going to be built in the next decade, then we could just start, moving on and actually having an honest conversation. But to say that that's not going to happen is just dishonest at this point.
No, wait, to say that which is not going to happen?
That there isn't going to be a Trump hotel on the Gaza Strip.
You thinking it will be?
Oh, how? What are you talking about? I think the plans are already drawn up in the office. What are you talking about, man? I bet you if you go to bookings.com right now, you can preemptively book hotel rooms. What are you talking about?
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
You could 2027. You can book a room for two at the introductory rate of $230 a night.
Yeah, I don't know that I would pay that. Yeah, so then let's start at the very beginning. Per your own knowledge of biblical history, Should there be a two-state solution?
Man, I don't. This is something I've stayed away from, uh, pun intended, the plague.
Yeah.
Um, um, because of how heated it is, but at the same time, I mean, the only thing I would say is that, in any war, if you're talking about Russia, Ukraine, death is death. It's absolutely horrible. There's obviously very much disproportion, aggression, and death from that's being caused by the Israelis. 61,000 people in Gaza are dead, compared to, I think, 1,200. Which I'm not going to say any death is more valuable or less valuable. It's just the numbers speak for themselves.
Correct.
And now you have this complete, basically showing my hand to everybody in the world, saying like, hey, why don't we mock this up as a Trump resort? And why don't we have Jared Kushner, during the last administration, this is before this happened, talk about how a Gaza privatization and is great real estate. I mean, Jared Kushner literally was saying that on air and doing podcast tours. You have Max Miller say, like, we're going to turn into a parking lot, and now everything is playing out the way that it just kind of happened. So, like, let's just stop bullshitting. Let's just stop bullshitting that this wasn't a big plan of what we're going to happen, and this is great real estate that somebody's going to make money off of. I mean, if we could just stop doing that, then I think we would have much more honesty in the conversation.
So you're saying that in the big picture, not necessarily you, nobody gives a shit about the Palestinians.
I'm saying that there's plenty of people that give a shit, and it's obvious, and what's happening.
They're just not in Washington.
But what I'm trying to say is that this has been shown. This has been broadcasted. These moves have been communicated, and they're playing out exactly how they were communicated on a longer time scale of say 3 to 4 years. And I think that if anybody's surprised that it's playing out the way it is, then they weren't paying attention. It's kind of like the Trump administration, where everybody's like, hey, we're going to vote for Trump because he's going to stop immigration. And next, he closes the border and arrests all of the illegal immigrants. And you're like, I can't believe he did that. It's like, what the fuck did you vote for? He literally told you this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm just sick of people like pretending that this wasn't communicated. Right. This was communicated. And if you have a problem with the way that this is happening, then I understand that. But don't be surprised. Like, I can't believe it. And don't believe the bullshit. Like, oh, we're just going to go in there and we're going to set up shop and we're going to take over Gaza City. And don't worry, we're going to get Hamas. And yeah, that's part of all of this forward momentum. I know this is how this is going to play out. I'd put money on it. If you can put me on Kalshi or of any betting poly market, I'll put the money on this is going to be a Trump hotel within 5 years.
So then, is the West Bank next?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
because there's more Hamas there.
Well, no, that technically, I guess, in the elections that were had, perhaps you're right, but that technically is more PLO, which has been very quiet over the past couple of years. They've been letting Hamas take all the heat. And obviously with the long ago passing of Yasser Arafat, they haven't had much.
All I'm saying is the Hamas excuse is going to go far, where they're going to start taking it off the shelf because hummus sounds too much like Hamas, and they're going to start calling it freedom dip. We know what's going to happen, so let's just stop bullshitting.
Back in the comments, I don't know who Governor Hot Wheels is.
That's Abbott.
Yeah, gotcha. Because he's in a wheelchair. Change the rules and move the goalpost. Yeah, that seems to be the thing with gerrymandering, and so much of once you have any sort of majority, particularly in a two-house legislature, that seems to be the usual Yeah, that's the big thing with no doubt. So,
Why? What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm far off on that? Do you think I'm wrong?
no, I think, yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment, and that's why I've gained a lot of respect for people like Bernie Sanders. I mean, you would be hard pressed to find somebody more Jewish than him. Yet he's got the balls to call out Netanyahu for wiping out so many civilians in the manner that they did, and under the conditions that they have, and causing the conditions that are left, the famine, the shitty supplies that are making its way into Gaza and the West Bank, and also his support of a two-state solution. It's someone there who's Jewish, yet realizes that is not only a homeland for the Jewish people, and that there's Christian and Muslim faiths and ethnicities and cultures that were born there as well. And it's not all about the Jewish faith or the Jewish people. And there's a Jewish guy that's got the balls to say it. Good on him. I think when you've got other commentators like Hassan Abi, the Young Turks, people that have been for Palestine and automatically being lumped in as also for Hamas. That's not, we just did an episode over an hour on that earlier this week. And that, and also the day before that was, being either anti-Jew or anti-Israel. There's a huge difference there as well. But you hear that from somebody like Ben Shapiro. But
yeah, Charlie Kirk said something. It's like the other day. I think it was on the Flagrant podcast. He said it's, oh man, I wanted to use this quote, and the reason why I'm trying to use a quote that I can't remember is because I want to remember it. But he said,
that's usually how it works.
Oh man, I can't remember. But it's using. What did he say? It's using. I can't think of the word. Damn it.
Let me see if I can get it.
Whatever.
With regards
to curbing thought, I could pull it up. Just give me a second.
When we stop talking,
we'll move on to tariffs or something, huh?
When we stop talking, was that the one?
No.
Never give up, never surrender. Always go for the.
Give me a second.
All right.
Well, I mean, not right now. Let's move to tariffs.
All right. I'm actually caught looking through the shit too, but I haven't found anything intelligent that he said. So this week the tariffs started, with regards to now moving into the economy. The tariffs that Trump put together have started, and they've started at the highest numbers. Here we go. As of 10 hours ago, the New York Times is reporting that Japan says Trump to correct, quote, extremely regrettable, unquote, error in tariff order. He also completely scrapped a trade deal with India. The economy showing signs of strains as a result of all this.
Oh, okay. Wait. I found it. He calls it thought terminating cliches. Thought terminating cliches.
Such as?
Labeling somebody as racist. Labeling somebody as anti-Semitic. Labeling somebody anti, this, that, or the other thing. It's using a cliche to make you stop thinking or doing the asking the question or whatever because of some cliche that you heard that just is perpetuated without much thought even into the cliche. You're anti-gay. You're anti-LGBTQ community, sir, because you don't like, conversion therapy or something. Or you don't think like girls should play on men's sports or men should play on girls' sports teams or whatever. And now that's thought. I think that's really good thought explanations.
He's talking about stereotypes, and not just stereotypes, but big generalizations.
Cliche of just saying, the cliche of saying the thing to say, hey, well, you know what? I don't know if somebody who transitioned when they were 25 should be able to play on women's basketball. And no, stop it. Because you're anti-trans. No, I'm not, because I want them to exist. They should buy a house, get married, be happy. But is this one right? No, you're anti-trans. Well, that's just a cliche that now stops me from asking the question and talking, because you now put me into that bucket. Now, I'm not stating my position right here. I'm just saying that is what he's saying. And I think that we use that quite a bit and I think that it's becoming much more and more popular because of the amplification of, and the ability to kind of like, I guess, out or cancel somebody if canceling is still a thing. But people are still really sensitive to that.
I, as you know, and I think most of our audience knows, I'm gay. I've got friends that are trans. Yeah,
you're
really? I know. Have you seen me walk?
Actually, I never have seen you walk, to be honest with you.
There's a story behind that one. A gay coworker of mine who I was actually dating told somebody else that I was also gay and that, we were dating, and that person didn't believe it, that, they didn't think I was gay. And he goes, have you seen him walk? Because he was a smart ass. And a funny one, but he was going to use that stereotype. But no, I am not for biological men in women's sports. Like gay marriage and gays serving in the military during the Clinton administration, our country is not there yet. That doesn't mean that I can't support the trans community. I just think that, and we've tried it, and it didn't work. I don't know what his name is, but the male swimmer from the University of Penn, who could come in fourth on a good day, transition to being a female, didn't chop anything off, just called himself a woman, and was setting records in the NCAA swimming. I mean, I think that right there shows there's a difference. And while there's plenty of similarities from a trans woman to a biological one, there are significant differences that on a playing field that is supposed to be equal, it's not. And maybe that's my conservative side. I say it's my practical side. It's just reality.
You're just anti-trans. I mean, It's obviously you just don't like trans women. And
call it what you want. There it is.
but that's what I'm talking about. I think, and out of Charlie Kirk, I mean, you can disagree with him on quite a bit, honestly. But with that one, I thought it was a good way to put it. It's like just thought turning cliches. I also don't like the idea. It's also a cliche to say that, to be honest with you. At the same time, it's like a double entendre. Like I just did the thing that I did, but in a different way. It's like because thought terminating cliche is a freaking cliche.
You're providing a defense for somebody who actually is anti-trans. Just wants to jump on that bandwagon as the actual.
Well, he wasn't talking about trans at that point. But anyway, long story short is we're back. So wait, tariffs.
So
we're talking about tariffs.
Sweeping new tariffs on more than 90 countries around the world have come into effect. Moments before his deadline passed for countries to negotiate U.S. trade deals, Trump posted on his Truth Social platform, also known as state media, that billions of dollars were now flowing into this country as a result of his imported taxes. No, asshole, they're here already. The people paying that are the people who live here buying those goods. Now, how long has it been? Does this guy still not understand that? That the revenue being generated for the U.S. government is coming from the American people. That was for you if you want to answer it. Or not.
Give me 1 second. I'm looking up something actually, because that is, I think, not true at this point. A study just came out, and I'm trying to find it, as companies that actually chose to take less profit and cut their profit margins instead of passing the tariffs on to consumers. Therefore, the inflation rate, which is now at 1.6%, and it went down last month again.
Were you not here for the conversation that we just had about saying bullshit about Gaza and not realize there's going to be a Trump hotel on the beach? You don't think that report may have come from, I don't know, the Trump administration, who just fired the director of the agency?
Well, I'm trying to find it. Well, we do have two things that are confirming that. Number one is we have two things that are confirming that the tariffs could have effect, and we have also things that are confirming that the tariffs are not having an effect yet. And so I think we just got to be honest with the two things a couple of things that are coming out. Number one is inflation isn't rising the way that we think it's rising because of if we don't believe in government entities now, then we can just say
it's
we don't believe in anything. That's fine. But if we do trust the numbers, then the inflation is lower than it has been. And so therefore the tariffs have not increased inflation. So therefore the money is going somewhere. So it's either eating into the company's profits and they're not adjusting the cost of goods. I'm sorry, the price to the consumer, and they're eating those now for maybe the Trump administration, like I said. But those are just the numbers. Now what we have on the forward looking, because markets look forward, they don't play in real time, is we do have layoffs starting to ramp up, and jobs are becoming becoming harder to find, and there are more and more layoffs happening and at a pace. So we have two things there. Maybe these companies that are seeing that need to stop eating profits, and they're starting to lay off people to control those costs, or it's actually going to cut into their the consumer purchasing power, which is going to drop the level of goods, which is going to put the pressure on companies to lay off people to keep their profit margins. So all those things could exist at the same time.
So this is the story from the BBC. How much is the cash U.S. raising from the tariffs? There's the ridiculously put together, whatever you want to call that, visual from Trump from when he started this. U.S. President announced on April, the so-called Liberation Day, a slew of, is that supposed to be swinging? So-called reciprocal tariffs or import tariffs hitting dozens of countries around the world. Many of these have been paused, and since then, Trump has also announced agreements with several partners, including the UK, Vietnam, Japan, and the European Union, which reduce some of the tariff levels. But particular commodities and goods such as automobiles and steel have also been targeted with significant industry-specific tariffs by Washington, and the overall average U.S. tariff rate is at its highest in almost a century. The tariffs themselves are ultimately paid by the U.S. companies that bring goods into the country from abroad. The impact of all this being felt is the U.S. and global economy in different ways.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Right now, some of these companies and some of these manufacturers and importers are choosing to eat the costs instead of passing it to consumers. And that doesn't mean that the costs are not going up, but we're just not feeling it in inflation yet. Now, I think that what's happening is these companies are trying to play it forward and saying, like, okay, as of right now, how do we protect what we have? Because remember, orders were placed, goods are there. So do we eat the cost and make sure that we don't sell them, or do we pass the consumer cost and it stops demand? And I think what they're doing is they're saying, let's keep the demand, let's keep the sales, let's cut orders in the future, and let's lay off employees. So they sell the current goods, keep the current orders, and then adjust for the future. And so I think as of right now, it just is that we are not seeing the consumers paying that as of right now, but they will in the future if the things don't change. But we're seeing that the companies are already adjusting to, like I said, purchasing, ordering.
Yeah,
and
here's something
labor.
else that I want to see if it actually is paid forward or not. I think I have a puppy that needs to go out. The budget lab at Yale University estimates that as of 28th of July of this year, the average effective tariff rate imposed by the U.S. on goods imports stood at 18.2%, the highest since 1934. That was up from 2.4% in 2024 before Donald Trump returned to office. That significant increase means U.S. government's tariff revenues have shot up. So, yeah, Donald Trump is saying that money is rolling in for him at the federal government. But is he going to roll that money back out in the form of Medicaid or other services that have already been cut? When are we going to see the benefits of this money rolling in? Or will we? And I'll listen while I'm taking the dog out. I'll let you respond to that and I'll be right back.
Oh, what am I responding to now? That's hilarious. Okay. What? I'm looking at the wrong stream. Look, I there's so many things that are interesting in the economy right now that is really hard to predict and understand. Like, so, as you know, I'm in the process of buying a new house, and the market is just absolutely, it's high. Housing prices are high, and it's just the time that I need to buy a house because I need a place to live. But like, there's a lot of metrics that are saying that this isn't the best time to buy. Like I said, unemployment is trickling up. Layoffs are going up. We do have an AI boom. We have an AI boom that's already trying to eat at jobs. We have, I think tariffs are going to have these companies be forced to adjust their business practices to be more efficient and cut costs, which is going to be labor. Labor is a huge line item, one of the, if not the biggest after securing a facility, in cost of goods. It's probably usually it's higher than the cost of the product. So take off labor, and so like the economy has so many headwinds against it right now. At the same time, we still have a lot of tools that are at our disposal that are being used to pump, honestly, the markets, and so we have two different things that I think are disjointed right now when it comes to the market in general. So there's two things. Actually, we'll call it two things. One, the consumer. How does it feel to the consumer? And two, what is it doing to the market? So the market, I think there's a lot of levers to be pushed to keep the market still churning and the GDP still climbing. GDP did print, I think it was 3%, which is absolutely wonderful, by the way. And it's expected to do even better. At the same time, what is it going to do to the consumer? So, and then what is it going to do to the different markets when we're talking about, consumer goods and housing and so on and so forth? Right now, there are 500,000 more houses for sale than there are buyers, which is, everybody's really saying like, hey, let's freak out. I think that might be a rate issue. Also a rate issue, meaning that people are locked into housing rates at like 2%. So why the hell would I sell my house? And other people just can't afford it because of the rate issue as well. And saying like, and obviously the price of the houses. So we have those issues right there. But so if you drop the rates, I think we could feel a little bit more consumer growth. But I don't really know if it's going to be sustainable in the long term because of the job market. Anyway, and then the tariffs could raise prices even more. So I don't know, dude. I don't know. Everything's just really kind of confusing. This is one of the most confusing markets I've ever seen. Everything was usually pretty self-explanatory. This is 4D chess markets, and I don't know what's going on. And
I don't think
a lot
he
of people
does
do.
either, Frank. And that's not me being Trump.
I don't think I think everybody doesn't, because the other thing is they're also trying to devalue the dollar, and so the dollar is devaluing, which means our global purchasing power is going down, which is great because of this is exactly what China did in 2008, is they devalued the yuan by what 30%, which created huge inflows of capital to build factories for like these different places that
Right.
had factories or needed factories. And so like it was just cheaper. It was way cheaper just to buy yuan and build there. A million yuan is now 30% cheaper. I just got a 30% discount to build the same factory. That's absolutely crazy. I'm doing it there. And so devaluing the dollar is still a tactic. Cutting rates is still a tactic. So this could not slow down, even though the consumer might actually be hurting a lot more. So we have this weird dichotomy within the US right now, especially since it's a mature market of, do we have the consumer feeling pain at the same time we're having the most wealth creation simultaneously? And I think that is possible.
Yeah, but wealth creation for people who don't have it yet, or wealth creation for people who are just the rich going to get richer and the poor get poorer?
Oh, the rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to get poorer.
So,
man. The rich are going to get real fucking
that's
rich.
pointing at the trickle-down economics that we already know doesn't work, because Democrats have been saying that it didn't work for Reagan and everybody else. And now Republicans just said that the trickle-down economics that Biden tried to put, saying, hey, you might not be feeling it at the grocery store, but we do have an excellent economy, which was proven to be true, also still didn't work because the voters never saw it. So this rich getting richer that you're talking about, it sounds like the same old shit.
Here, I said this years ago already, that this is exactly what's playing out. I'm trying to find the clip for you. Here it is. You can play this during COVID or right after COVID, and everybody wanted to work from home. I put it in the private chat, by the way. The Australian CEO came out and said this, and I said, I've always said that this is the playbook you're going to see roll out in the future.
Oh,
is that they need people to be poor. They need people.
We played this here before.
Again, people are saying the thing out loud, man. And like when it comes to what we just talked about, the Gaza Strip, and we talked about everything else. We talk about this economy. They're telling you the playbook. It's just you got to pay attention, and this is exactly what I think is happening right now.
Here it is from Financial Review Property Summit.
The problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Is it me, or does he look like either Beavis or Butthead?
He looks like this, like a stereotypical CEO. That look. Here's the thing. Is that this is exactly what's playing out. Like, we have these markets that are booming. We have a lot more capital going into markets. Capital sitting on the sidelines. Housing prices went up. Goods prices went up in 5 years. Like, housing prices doubled in a lot of places. I think it's anywhere from 50% to 200% depending on where you live. Food prices went up. Now you're seeing AI roll in, and AI and companies are actively trying to figure out how to get AI to gut middle management for the most part, and some of these other jobs. You have a stop of flow of immigration and the border, which honestly, we could talk about strong borders, yes, but the labor that goes
100%.
with those illegal immigrants that are coming in there, it literally is a thing. So
Absolutely.
we're stopping that. At the same time, when you take that down to zero, you have the American people now forced to do the jobs. Now you have no jobs. We have the higher jobs that are there, while things are getting more expensive. Now you're going to have layoffs. So you have this almost like perfect storm of forcing people back into Americans back into labor and saying, hey, it had to cushy too long. Let's go there. And I always thought this was the plan. The plan was to make things expensive. The rich will always be able to afford it. People with money are always going to be able to afford it. Push the middle management out into labor jobs and back into restaurants. Incentivize. I mean, remember, there's no tax on tips. Yeah, incentivize going back into restaurants.
Has that actually taken effect yet? Because I haven't seen it, but I heard that was not actually.
It
was
bill,
not
so.
Actually in the big beautiful bill. Everybody thought it was, and apparently it was not. Let me look.
I need fact checked on this, because I literally just heard Dave Ramsey talk about it just yesterday. And it was tax exemptions up to $25,000, but. Anyway, if it is or if it isn't, and the overtime pay is also there, I thought too. No tax on overtime pay. Look, you're trying to create what they're trying to do, in my opinion, is trying to create a proletariat, a very indentured proletariat that needs to go to work and can't afford things, and you need to have at least 40% of the population to feel that. Maybe more, 60. Let's call it 60%.
Okay, so according to Ogletree, it says it's official. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. One big beautiful bill. No tax on overtime through 2028. God, I'd love to be in the Secret Service right now. And then one big beautiful bill.
Yeah, you guys will be clocking overtime by day 2 of your work week.
We often did. In fact, because for earlier part of my career, there was also a cap that we could not get paid more than a certain amount, and that's to prevent favoritism. But there was also a work demand. Everybody was working, not just the boss's buddies. And so they had to go to Congress and get us an exemption. We had members of the uniform division making more than $200,000 a year. That's how much they were working.
Mm-hmm.
Effective for 2025 through 2028, employees and self-employed individuals may deduct qualified tips received in occupations that are listed by the IRS as customarily and regularly receiving tips on or before December 31st, 2024. So in other words, you can't just start tipping people for good measure to avoid taxes. It's got to be something that's like a waiter, a driver, something like that has customarily been tipped. And they report on a Form W-2 or Form 1099, another specified statement furnished to the individual and reported directly by the individual on Form 4137. Qualified tips are voluntary cash or charge tips received from customers and through tip sharing. Maximum annual deduction is $25,000 for self-employed. Deduction may not exceed individual's net income without regard to this deduction. So in other words, you can't make more in tips than you can in the salary. deduction phases out for taxpayers with modified adjusted gross income over $150,000, $300,000 for joint filers. So if you're making a certain amount, this doesn't apply to you. That's another thing. I know bartenders in New York City that are making that amount, and probably very much due to tips, but they're not doing poorly. No tax on overtime, effective for the same period. On the overtime compensation may deduct the pay that exceeds their regular rate of pay, such as the half portion of the time and a half compensation that is required by the Fair Labor Standards Act, and that is reported on a Form W-2, 1099, or other specified statement. Maximum annual deduction is $12,500. Shit, we that a month. I'd make $12,500 in overtime in a month. Deduction phases out for taxpayers with modified adjusted gross income at $150,000. No tax on car loan interest. I'm happy to. I've got a joint loan with my son on his car, so not disappointed to see that. Deduction for seniors. Woo! Effective 23rd individuals, a 65. Shit. This new deduction is in addition to the current additional standard deduction for seniors under existing law. Hey, if that's happening, I'm for it. We'll see how it works. He's not on yet. Oh, you know what? I should have had that a little bigger. Sorry. There we go. That's the car loan interest. Why would you do that for car loans and not put something in for the real estate market?
Well, they're trying to do something with the real estate market, right? They're thinking about passing an executive order that will allow no tax on the sale of your home.
Here's my problem with all these executive orders. The guy's got control of both houses of Congress. If these are such great ideas, why not put it through Congress and make it real law?
See the problem. But that's we talked about this already on the show before. Is that it's not about the executive orders are necessary because Congress doesn't do shit. That's the issue.
Stop letting them vacate their position and go on vacation for their entire session.
Oh, so go arrest them.
Arrest them. Didn't we come to that conclusion earlier today? Let the FBI arrest federal offenders of this instead of state ones. I don't know. Just me spitballing and talking out loud. We're going to have time to.
Hell yeah.
Do we get time to talk about Alligator Auschwitz in 6 minutes?
I mean, we can try our best
for next week. See what updates we get. Where's Sportcat at?
Yeah, we can. We'll save it for next week. See what updates we get.
Let me get on Facebook and message our replacement. Oh, did you see this?
What did I see?
Georgia's former Republican Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan enrages MAGA world by switching parties to become a Democrat in a stunning rebuke of Trump's party. There's no date on a calendar or line in the sand that points to the exact moment in time my political heart changed, but it has, Duncan wrote in a new op-ed for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. My decision was centered around my daily struggle to love my neighbor as a Republican. He stated that his journey has become a Democrat, stated even before Trump attempted to steal the 2020 the election in 2020 and undermine the Democrat will of the people. Duncan reeled off a murder's row of issues. He is with the modern Republican Party, citing their inexcusable dismantling of our healthcare system and Medicaid, their lack of support for their poor, and their increasingly deranged stances on gun control and their heartless and pointless immigration. Well, there you go. And Georgia scores 1 for the Dems. Let's see if Sportcat's going to be bringing that up next.
What does Sportcat talk about? Politics?
Politics.
You do, but he does. Sportcat's Daily Gazette talks about the world ending.
That's right. We're all going to die. It's these effing Democrats' fault.
Yeah. Well, you got one more to blame because a Georgia
yeah, I know. I saw that.
Just
can't have everything.
To the National League.
Can't. That doesn't surprise me. Well, never mind. I'll be nice.
All right. Well, I'm going to go and call my insurance lady now. So
he doesn't like to talk to me because I'm racist, homophobic, demophobic, whatever. I don't know. I'm everything. So.
Demophobic, maybe.
I'm a everything phobic.
Most of the dailycryptonews.net. Hey, send me episodes, will you?
Oh, son of a bitch! I keep forgetting to do that, dude. You really have. We have to figure out how to get me on
Dropbox. It's so easy.
We've got a Google Drive. We're both Google, so that's just as easy.
I guess Democrats can't figure it out. So okay. He hates me, and I'm almost kind of proud of that.
He doesn't. I don't think he can hurt anybody right now. Except probably. I suspect there might be some no love lost between him and his ex-girlfriend because there's a recent breakup, and he's done serious traveling ever since, which I don't blame him for at all. But I think that's
exes have a way of doing that.
Some very necessary me time going on there.
That's it. Well, I'm going to try and go live on YouTube today if the YouTubes will cooperate. It looked like it was up. You're streaming on YouTube, so aren't you?
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Last night I tried twice, and I finally went and looked on Down Detector, and in every major city, YouTube was down. And I was like, well, Knoxville probably hubs off of Atlanta or some other big one, so chances are. But yeah, it was weird. I don't know if they were having. They never did say. They're not going to say if they were hacked. So, all right. Well, I got to get out of here and try this. Get your cheap viewers on Streamboo, whatever the hell Streamboo is. It's, a bunch of Italian princes will send you thousands of dollars and make you rich. So
there you go.
What the hell is that?
Thumbing through some other shit, and it popped up somebody who thinks that sending a selfie while they're strapped into their driver's seat of their car is just inspiration for everybody else.
You know, when you started that sentence, I had it going somewhere totally different. So, okay.
Yeah. So not that selfie. I mean, at least
I found your Pornhub site. All right, well, let me have the radio real quick. Let's make sure that's working. Oh, mercy. It's Friday. Why is
yeah.
And it's hotter than a Baptist hell here in East Tennessee. Jesus. And so stuck in mom's attic, it's even twice as hot. Jesus Christ. So, but yeah, All right. Well, and you should pay attention today. I got a file. I'll try and remember to save it and send it to you. It's a PDF checklist that you should have to help evacuate your hurricane furry friends. So,
Okay.
I'll send it to you. If nothing else, you should tell everybody since you're in Florida, because that's one of the worst things about a natural disaster is the animals.
I bring food, water, and a minivan. Then we're out.
But yeah, sometimes you got to. So, all right, my friend, we'll be
Bye-bye.
safe. I will talk at you soon. I'm gonna. Can I have the radio, by the way?
Oh yeah. There you go.
You
So-
radio hog.
Sportscast Philly Gazette is up next.
All right, brother. See you soon.
Yeah, bud. He's
All
on
right.
Rainbow Radio, and the entire Mastiff Media Network, as well as the Dare Media.
You're listening to a Dare Media Group radio.
I guess I don't have to play that. He's got the radio. So, we'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Go see Superman or Fantastic Four or both. I'll see what I get to do at some point. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for getting off the porch and running with the big dogs. See you again.